everyone, you're welcome back to Ink Sweet Ladies Place once again. My name is Inka. I hope we're all doing well. I pray our good Lord is going to heal our land and is going to restore peace back into our country. For this tutorial, I use about 3 yards of fabric. And here are the measurements we'll be using. The total length of the gown is 42 inches. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is to fold my fabric into two. As you can see, the fabric is folded into two already. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to fold it diagonally like a triangle, just like I'm showing you right here. Can you see? Just like this. And by the time you do your fabric like this, you are going to have it in 4 folds. The very first step is to locate the position where you are going to be able to get your divided shoulder measurement. My shoulder is 16, and if I divide that by 2 will give me 8 inches. So I'll first locate where I can get the 8 inches from this my triangle. And once I locate that position, I'm going to roll it into a straight line. And all my vertical measurements are going to be starting from this line that I just rolled. So this line is my shoulder line and it serves as our guideline also. So the next thing I'm going to do is to measure down the length of my armhole. My armhole is 9 inches. I'll make a point. Then the total length of my gown is 42 inches, but I'm going to be adding 1.5 inches for my seam allowance. So I'm going to be measuring 43.5. So that's my length, 43.5. That's with the seam allowance. So the next thing you want to do now is to go back to the tip of the triangle, the very beginning of the triangle. Place your tip, measure at that point. Then you measure to where you have your actual length. And whatever figure that gives you now, you continue to rotate it. At this point, mine gave me 53.5. So I'm going to continue to rotate the 53.5 till I get to the other side of the fabric. Just take your time to do this. Continue rotating and then you'll be making your points. Most time I love to cut out my flare gown on the floor because it's more comfortable doing it on the floor than doing it on the table. So feel free to use your floor to do yours. So when you're done rotating it, the next thing is now to cut it out. So just cut it out from that point so that it can be easy for you now to input all your measurements. So the next thing now is to input our measurements. Like I said earlier, this is my shoulder line, this is my armhole length, which is also my chest line. So on my shoulder line, I'm going to input my shoulder. My shoulder is 8 inches. I'll measure 8 inches. And that same 8 inches, I'm going to measure it on my chest line so that I can have a straight line. Measure your shoulder measurement on your chest line and then you roll into a straight line, just like I'm showing you now. So the next thing now is to get our shoulder slope. So starting from the tip of the shoulder, you measure 1 inch downward, and starting from the folded edge, you measure 3 inches. Then you connect these points together to get your shoulder slope. Then after that, you add ½ inch seam allowance on the shoulder slope. So the next thing now is to input our bust measurement on the chest line. On your chest line, you're going to be inputting your bust measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch seam allowance. Mine is 40. 40 divided by 4, that is 10. Then plus 1 inch seam allowance. Then after that, you're going to be using your French curve to mark your armhole curve. First, you are going to be marking your back armhole curve. Put your French curve touching the armhole line and then touching the chest line. Then you get your back armhole curve. For your front armhole curve, go back to your shoulder drop, that 1 inch shoulder slope, measure from there to the chest line and locate the midpoint. Then at that midpoint, you come in by ½ inch. Then you use the straight part of your ruler to connect it to the shoulder tip, just like I'm showing you now. Then again, you place the curved part, touching the chest line and also touching the midway. Then you get your front armhole curve. So the next thing now is to input the neck shaping. For the neck, I use 4 inches neck depth and 4 inches neck width. Then I'm going to use my French curve to connect it together. So I use 4 by 4 for my neck width and neck depth. So on my chest line, I have my bust divided by 4 plus 1 inch seam allowance. Starting from there, my seam allowance, I'm going to place my ruler and connect it straight down to the extreme end of my cone, just like I'm showing you here now. Then after that, I'm going to cut it out. First, I'll cut out on the neck. Then my seam allowance on the shoulder. Then first my back armhole curve. Then the sides. At this stage, if you are putting pocket on yours, you measure your waist measurement, then you come down by 1, then you notch that position. My waist is 17, then if I come down by 1, that's 18. So I measure 18 inches and notch for my pocket placement. Then after that, I'm going to remove the inner layer. That's going to be for the back. Then I'm now going to reshape the front armhole curve. So just trim out the front armhole curve like that. So by the time you open it, this is how it looks. Can you see? It's so beautiful. So at this stage, you can decide to cut out any sleeve of your choice. Mine, I made a circular sleeve. I've made a tutorial of how you can make this circular sleeve last week. You can go back and watch that video so that you understand how to make a circular sleeve. But this is optional. You can do any kind of sleeve you desire. So the next thing now is to cut out my pocket. First, I'll place my fabric into two fold, then I'll fold it again into four. Then after that, I'm just going to trace out the shape of my palm to cut out my pocket. So we are going to be sewing our gown now. The first thing is to join the shoulders together. So you are going to match the right side of the fabric together, right side facing each other, and then you're going to sew the shoulder with ½ inch seam allowance. When that is done, the next thing now is to fix our pocket. So you pick your pocket, you match the right side of the pocket to the right side of the dress, and then you are going to sew the pocket starting from where you have your pocket notching. So when you are done, you repeat the same thing to the four sides of the dress. Attach your pocket to the four side of the dress. When that is done, the next thing is to close the side of our dress. You know we added 1-inch seam allowance, so you're going to close the side with 1-inch seam allowance, starting from the underarm. So the next thing now is to attach the sleeve. You are going to turn your fabric to the right side, and then you match the right side of the sleeve on top of the right side of the dress. Can you see? This is the armhole of my dress, and I'm putting my hand. Then I'll place the pocket. I'll place the sleeve on top of it. I will ensure my notching is matching on the shoulder. You know, where you have your shoulder notching, you make sure it matches with the shoulder of the dress. And where you have the underarm notching, you make sure it's aligned with the underarm of the dress. Then you pin in place. Then after that, you are going to sew it all around. If you have not watched how to cut this circle sleeve, please kindly watch it. I posted the video last week. I'm going to leave the detail in the description box. I will leave the link in the description box. Alright, so I'm done attaching my sleeve to the dress. The next thing now is to finish the raw edges with the bias strip. You're going to finish the neckline with your bias, the hem of the dress with your bias, and the sleeves with your bias. First, place the bias on the right side of the dress, and then you sew all around. Then when you're done, you turn it to the wrong side and top stitch. So I'm done attaching my bias on my dress, and my dress is ready. And here is it. Our gown is ready. You can see, you can wear it as a casual dress. Just style it and you're good to go. And it can also serve as a maternity gown for pregnant ladies. Can you see? And you can also rock it as an office dress. Just pair it with a belt, with your handbag, you're good to go. Thanks for watching. If you have not subscribed to my channel yet, please kindly subscribe so that you don't miss my next tutorial. Bye. I'll see you in my next one.